Yes, that's right, inshallah.
We
We
can start,
can
yeah?
start. Then,
Okay.
inshallah.
We can't see how many people are online already. Is
In this Zoom,
participants?
we will only use it for the speakers. For public, we are using Zoho. So what I'm doing is I'll be sharing this Zoom meeting screen on the Zoho,
Okay. All right.
just a layer.
Okay. So I start now, yeah?
Yes, inshallah.
All right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning, good afternoon. I don't think anyone here is still in the late evening, ready to breakfast yet. But welcome everybody to the fifth edition of the International Halal Conference under the title of Understanding and Implementing Ethical Frameworks in the Global Halal Economy. Without much ado, we will start straight away with our first presenter for the day, which is Brother Damir Alihodzic, PhD, from the Director of the Agency for Halal Quality Certification, Tuzla, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Dr. Damir, welcome, and the screen is yours.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum to everyone. Assalamu alaikum, dear speakers. And I'm really glad I'm here today with you. And it's especially because of this very important, how can I say, very important topic and under a very important title of I have for today to present. So today, now I will share my presentation. To start with presentation, and yeah, it is here. I hope everyone can see it. Just a moment.
All right.
Okay.
Very nice, clear.
I hope you can see it. Yes.
Yes.
The title of this presentation and of my presentation is Insight into the Role of Halal Certification Bodies in Maintaining Ethical Standards. I said it's very important to have it, even we should more speak about ethical standards, especially in role of halal certification body, because of in last decades, or in last, we can say, few years, halal became very popular everywhere in the world, globally. So because of it became, we can say it became brand and the trend, and because of that, we can say that a lot of new halal certification body that are not so reliable, and they are not deserved to work as a certification bodies and to be to halal certified, especially because a lot of them are not Islamic entity, and they are not competent to work with halal, and especially it is in how can I say, non-Muslim countries, in non-Islamic countries, that they are we have here in Europe information about that a lot of certification body newly organized and newly became in the halal business. So for this for today, we have presentation, and content of this presentation is, of course, introduction, halal quality infrastructure, halal certification body role in ethical standards. Of course, we can talk a little bit about mission and versus business, what halal should be, and we will have some conclusions. When we talk about ethical standards, the ethical standards are set of rules, values, and principles that that define moral guidelines for behavior within an industry. We can say it is some general okay, it can be definition or etc. But we are here. We are talking about Islamic. We are talking about halal. So we have to refer for Islamic ethics and Islamic values. So Islamic ethics and values. I take this. How can I say? Take this sentence from forward in standard for halal standard for Islamic ethics and values, Islamic ethics and values in the management system from OIC CIMIC standards. It is standard under development, not yet standard, but it is committee draft. As I can see now, it's committee draft standard. So next, I hope in next period, inshallah, it will be developed as a standard. So when we talk about Islamic ethics and values, we refer to a set of principles and requirements derived from Islamic teaching that govern the management and operation of organization. It's rooted in the ethical framework provided by Quran and Sunnah. They aim to promote values such as truth, such as honesty, integrity, impartiality, justice, transparency, accountability, and social responsibility within the official environment. So, as I can say, it's from general requirements for implementation of Islamic ethics and value in management system. I think it will be standard 62 or from OIC. I hope inshallah in next period it will be adopted as a draft standard. When we talk about halal quality, when we talk about that halal is based on three basic pillars. All of us we know that we have to the main source for halal is Islamic teaching, halal and tayyib, and all of us know what halal is, what haram is, so what is uh, what we can use and what we can certify and what we cannot certify as a halal. So the Islamic teaching on halal and tayyib. The second pillar is modern technology and halal. We have to know everything about food technology, about we should know about, and we should be friendly with modern technology in any industry, pharmaceuticals, tourism, and etc. So we have to be in line with that. And of course, the third one is the third pillar is management and assurance of halal quality. General, we should be friend with quality management system, especially international standards like ISO 9001 and others. And we have to be especially in the standards for food safety, because when we talk about management of assurance of halal quality, we should talk about food safety, not because of halal. Yes, because of halal, but more because of tayyib. We have to talk about because of tayyib. Food safety is a tayyib. Okay, on this picture we can see the halal quality infrastructure for now we can say in the world. We have standardization bodies in the world, as we can see here. Standardization bodies, when we talk about standardization body, we talk about OIC CIMIC as a standardization body, because it is international or intergovernmental institution and covering all we can say all countries, all Islamic countries and member countries. And that standardization body developing halal standards for food, for cosmetic, for pharmaceuticals, for tourism, etc. We have a lot of halal standards right now under the OIC CIMIC, right? And we have a conformity assessment. Yes, in that we have halal accreditation bodies in the world. For conformity assessment is for accreditation and for methodology, and of course we using halal standard from for accreditation and for methodology. And yes, according to that, we have few, how can I say? Yes, as I know, few halal certification body in the world. In United Arab Emirates, in Saudi Arabia, in Turkey, in Pakistan, etc., we have national halal accreditation bodies. They are accreditation bodies. So a lot of certification bodies worldwide. We have a lot of halal certification bodies. They are using, of course, standard. Some of them they are using halal national standards, and some of them they are using CIMIC standards. For when we talk standards, we talk about halal standards, of course, because we are talking about halal certification. So in next period, and we have how can I say, under halal certification body and under not under, but the halal certification bodies are under accreditation. We can say under accreditation because the accreditation bodies are checking and are make assessment for halal certification body. But of course, we should have we have IFHAM, International Halal, International, not international, Islamic Forum for Halal Accreditation Bodies, and that should maintain with multilateral agreement or mutual recognition arrangement. They should make and work with conformity between accreditation bodies, and hope inshallah in next period it will become better and better. So when we talk about a role for ACB role maintaining ethical standards, we talk about halal certification, because always now and everywhere halal certification is in middle. When we talk about role in maintaining ethical standards, this picture is the best describe role of halal certification bodies, because certification bodies are in middle, and halal start with halal certification, right? If we are when company or producer want to be halal certified, he will call and ask and apply for halal certification to halal certification body. So that means that halal start with halal certification body, and certification bodies are in middle, in contact with consumers, and especially in contact with producer. They have to maintain halal in producer, in plant and their factories. So halal certification body are in the middle. Even they are halal certification bodies are in the middle because of accreditation. Very often, not very often, but it is rule that accreditation should come to check that does certification body are satisfying requirements of halal accreditation, of halal accreditation standards. So certification bodies should, according to accreditation standards, shall be Islamic entity and shall fulfill requirements. Shall be Islamic entity, should have transparency, shall have competence, confidentiality, impartiality, and other requirements. Should satisfy those requirements, all of them to be halal accredited, right? And of course, halal certification body should have and should act and promote the truth, the honesty, integrity, justice, transparency, and it is not in halal accreditation standards, but that certification body should have those and should act and promote those aspects, right? So we because when we talk about a role of maintaining the most and biggest role in maintaining ethical standards is certification body in whole halal infrastructure. Certification body is in the middle, and especially because it is it is becoming and halal starting with halal certification bodies. When we talk about mission and mission versus business for halal producer, all of we know that and companies that we know that halal is business. They are certifying because of business, because of the competitive in on the market and to make money and finance from halal certification. And for halal certification body, halal should primarily be amana, an entrusted responsibility. Our mission, and always, I can say from my position, from our certification body, we always say that halal is on the first place, not business, not money. That should be amana because we are responsible for halal. We as a certification body, we are responsible to the consumers, to the responsible for the producers for halal, and responsible to accreditation because they are assessing us and they are checking us every year about we have to fulfill the requirements. And of course, for consumers, halal is lifestyle and religious requirements. With maintaining ethical standards, its achievement, the consumer's confidence as a key factor, right? Ethical standards ensure consumers' confidence in halal products. The importance of transparency and reliability in the production process. Ethic and integrity in the halal industry. Adherence to ethical standards contribute to preserving the integrity of the industry, impact on the long-term development on and reputation of the halal sector. And the third, ethical standards as a competitive advantage, that proactive adherence to ethical standards can become a key competitive advantage, right? And consumer satisfaction is a result of transparency and the quality. So on the conclusion, we can say that halal start with certification. Yes, because then producer applied he applied to halal certification body. So halal certification body played the main role in maintaining ethical standards, in my opinion. If we are dealing with honest, with justice, with requirements of accreditation, etc., then we are starting good business with halal. We are starting good business with producer, and then we will finish with consumers. But in mean is accreditation, of course. Maintaining ethical standards is critical to maintaining the trust, integrity, and growth of halal industry. With maintaining ethical standards, we achieve consumer confidence, ethic, and integrity in the halal industry. For halal certification body, halal should be primarily amana and entrusted responsibility. So in this last few minutes, I start to speak a little bit faster because I saw that I don't have a lot of time to finish on time. Thank you very much. If you have any question, I'm here.
Thank you, Jazakallah, Dr. Damir. It's very insightful presentation, and I'm glad that OIC's MIC is coming out, drafting in the standard for ethical. Yes, I believe amanah should be the key, not only for the halal certification body, but also producer. Key elements. Yes, you're right. It should be the top priority for the HCB, but then it should be the foundation for everybody. Amanah. Great.
Yes.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much. I think for the questions, we will be compiling them into the panel session later. So thank you very much once again, Dr. Damir, Jazakallah. And without further ado, I'd like to welcome Sister Gemma Ali from the UK to give the next presentation. Welcome, Sister Gemma. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everybody, those online and also our fellow speakers. So without further ado, I will share my screen. Let me just find my presentation. Hopefully, inshallah, you can all see this. Okay, so my topic today is focusing on Tayyib from an animal welfare perspective in Islam, and focusing on the modern livestock farming practices that we undergo around the world and how that has an effect on like the welfare insurance. My talk is mainly focused on livestock, but some of the welfare aspects as well within our industry do also include other areas, such as maybe cosmetic testing, if it's needed, or any kind of clothing that we get from animals as well, or any other byproduct from animals. Basically anything that involves those other species may also have some sort of compromise with animal welfare. So first of all, with my presentation, I'll go for a little bit, it might seem a little bit more personal about ethics and animal ethics, advocacy, and then I'll go into a little bit about those actual areas within the livestock industry and how that ties in with our halal industry as well. So first of all, I have a question for all of you, just to think about for a minute of how do you define animal welfare? Okay, so have a thing in your minds when you think of animals maybe that you eat versus animals that you own. Your welfare perspective may be a little bit different. Okay, so this actually differs between cultures. Here in the UK, we're known as animal lovers, whereas maybe around the world, animals are seen as more of just something for food or something that you farm. Maybe people don't have pets in their home. They don't see them as those kind of species that are welcomed within the home. But actually, if we look back through history, not just within Islam, but the other Abrahamic religions, animal rights were actually prescribed to us and taught to us within these scriptures before we had our modern day law that we create now. There's actually many hadith where the Prophet, peace be upon him, gives advice or like a lesson to something that he sees regarding an animal being treated a certain way. One example being he saw somebody taking some eggs from a nest, and the mother bird was behaving very erratically, obviously in distress, and the Prophet, peace be upon him, told them to put them back. So there's that lesson there that those animals do have sentience and they do have feeling, and the way that we treat them causes different emotions and reactions in them, the same as they would with us. So in the context of our food, obviously, as humans, we are given permission to use animals. It's said in the Quran, we can use them for food, transport, and hide. However, we have to be considerate of how we treat those animals. So within sacred law, animal cruelty or mistreatment is recognized as being wrong. Okay, despite us having that permission, we have to think about our iman and how we go about using those animals. So when we kill animals for food, it has to be minimal, not wasteful, and regulated carefully to ensure the procedure is painless as possible. As we know, our halal industry works tirelessly to have that halal slaughter as painlessly as possible. We're constantly changing our guidelines and our like halal standards to be able to allow animals to have a right and have welfare rights. And also, I think it gives a little bit of consumer confidence as well. even non-Muslims now across the UK and Europe, they're starting now to think, oh, what is this halal? And actually they look into it, and some of them are starting to prefer halal because they think it's cleaner, it has an ethical standard, the animals are treated better. Although in non-Muslim countries, it's also viewed as being a barbaric industry. So we have those different, ends of the scale there. But something for us to consider as Muslims is that not having that waste. If we're using the animals, it's fine, we have the permission, but we need to regulate it carefully and, not cause them pain and suffering as much as possible. So within the sacred law itself, it does place many restrictions on how people can keep animals and treat them. We're actually, as humans, restricted from using animals in a way where we have human gain at the expense of animal welfare. So previously, in the previous presentation, we were talking about the halal integrity rather than the monetary gain. So this is where it will come into play with the animal itself as well. Obviously, the livestock industry, as we may all know, is a huge, huge industry. We are constantly supplying meat. So we need to be considerate of the animal welfare, even though it is a business and it does have monetary gain. Our human gain shouldn't overtake the animal rights, basically. So if we have a look at the issues that are raised, so the most common animal welfare issues that are raised by animal advocacy groups is things like lack of space for animals, lack of sunlight, the restriction of normal animal behaviours, farmers not recognising sentience, or the industry as a whole not recognising sentience of animals, and also genetics, so breeding animals to gain weight and muscle mass very quickly in order to supply our meat industry, which may cause other physical effects to the animal. So these are the main points. There are others, but these are the ones that are mainly pushed forward, especially to government level, where they would like the legal requirements of keeping livestock animals changed to not keep them in huge sheds, give them outside access, depending on the species this is, and to actually recognise that they are beings and they need to be able to behave as they wish in the wild. Of course, they're not bred in the wild. They are bred as livestock production animals. So there is a little bit of debate around there, but it's all about making them comfortable and recognising that they do feel pain and suffering and disease the same as we would, and how would we feel if we were put in that situation. Okay, so if we have a look at some of the conflicts. So when we think of our industry as a whole, we have a growing population of people. We all have the right to buy meat, but we have a food security issue around the world. So now they're starting to research into those alternatives, such as the lab-grown meat. When you look into the industry, food security and animal welfare are always in constant conflict. At the end of the day, it is a business. We have a supply chain. We need to feed our consumers with their demand. And so where do we draw that line between how the animals are kept and what is being demanded by the industry? This is a constant conflict. But actually, when you look through some of the publications that have been made into animal rights in Islam, it does state that necessity does not void another's right. So this is where the human-animal conflict comes into play. Some demographics of people don't have the option to not eat meat. They need it for a nutritional requirement. So to them, it is a necessity, but it should not void the right of the animal.
Oh, Mary,
Okay. So
can bring me away a lot of ants.
and so it could be that it's a difficult subject, but some, not everybody, some have put forward the opinion that a A vegan diet is a privileged diet. Generally, I'm not sure about everywhere around the world, but in the UK, when we seek the alternatives to meat to lower our consumption to help with animal welfare issues, actually those foods are more expensive. So people that are in a different demographic in a poorer country, they can't afford to have those alternatives for their nutritional requirement. They need the meat that they produce on their local farms. It's a very different way of living. So, but they may not have that cultural view or the education about that necessity avoiding the other's right. Okay, so if we look at some of the influencing factors here, so again, demographic and location. So it may be that, you know, we can't sit here and put our personal views across around the world that all halal meats, for example, should be organically reared and you should only eat meat once a week. Organic meat here in the UK and across Europe is very expensive because of the time it takes to raise those animals and the input. Those people may not be able to afford that kind of meat, but they need those nutritional requirements. Okay, and even here in our more developed nations, people as a consumer will go for better value for money. If they see, for example, a chicken that it's got an ethical label, it says that it can perform natural behaviors, but you can get 2 for £15 rather than the one chicken for £20. Generally, the consumer behavior is that they would choose the two because they need to feed their families and they also have an income to budget like everybody else. And that's where we start with the factors of the food prices as well, and the cultural views on animals as well. But then, of course, we have this conflict between animal health versus welfare. So this is looking into the more Tayyib factor. Some research papers discuss Tayyib as being a separate entity to animal welfare. Some discuss Tayyib as being the pure product, so the animal itself and how it's raised. When you look through the research, if you look into like the intensive factory farming versus the free range versus the organic farming or the outdoor farming, there is often conflict between the ease of husbandry of the animals, because those in intensive farming will argue that the animals are in one place, they can control the disease easily, they can handle the animals easier, they can give them treatments easier. But then there is the argument on the other side that these animals have a lower immune system, or because they are so packed in these big densities, that if a disease does outbreak, there's, you know, catastrophic effects to the farmer, to the industry, to the animals. So there's this constant conflict here. And I think as a halal industry, we have to kind of decide where our boundaries are between the animal welfare aspects, but also the farmer and the demographic of where these animals are being raised and the location as well. So if we look at a wider picture, we are known as the caretakers of the earth. We were put here by Allah. We are seeing effects of from livestock farming of water pollution, zoonotic disease spread, so that disease spread between animal and human, antibiotic resistance. So depending on where you are around the world, routine use of antibiotics is allowed in production to keep disease at bay so the production can still continue. There is now a focus across Europe and the UK that we should not be routinely using antibiotics because of antibiotic resistance. I think it would be important to discuss using any of the use of those critical antibiotics to try and prevent this within our industry specifically. Of course, the cruelty to Allah's creations is being brought up by the animal advocacy groups. Animal welfare standards differ around the world depending on your law. The greenhouse gas emissions from livestock, and of course the land use itself. Okay, so this is a wider picture of all the things that could potentially be discussed and controlled within our industry specifically to give that Tayyib integrity as we go down the supply chain. So if we have a look at modern livestock production, in some cases, routine mutations are used where animals are having their physical appearance adjusted maybe to stop self-harm or harm of others within their housing. The Prophet, peace be upon him, forbade the castration and mutilation of animals. It is permitted under veterinary advice or if it is needed for a medical procedure. So just having a closer look at these mutations, are they being done because they need to be done or because it's just easy, you know, to keep the supply chain going? The same again for those antibiotics to be routinely used. Some farmers may use medicines to actually suppress disease rather than actually addressing husbandry and welfare issues on the farm. Okay, so it could be the case of needing more education, more awareness of animal health and behaviour to then try and prevent some of this disease spread and not needing that constant use of medicine. It is said within the scriptures that it's unlawful to unnecessarily harm an animal. This does not change because harming them costs less or increases efficiency. So this is a particular focus that has been discussed on intensive farming, especially where chickens are concerned. So they're often in tens of thousands in their population within a shed. Some of them do not go outside. They start to feel unwell, or because of the rate of growth, they start to have other physiological issues. So it's highlighting here that because it costs less to have that production system to get the meat into the market, it doesn't mean that it's our right as humans to allow this suffering to occur if we know it is occurring throughout the industry. Another point is mixed production. So in the the non-Muslim or the Western nations, a lot of our industry relies on non-Muslim farmers. So they may have mixed production systems. They are aware that we don't eat pork, but how in-depth their knowledge is to do with that mixed production, such as using pig manure on fields or housing them quite closely, it differs. So it could be quite a good incentive for the halal industry to actually educate non-Muslim farmers as well about our requirements. It's not just about having that separate production from slaughter onwards. We actually have some sort of requirement on the farm as well with regards to mixed production. And there's the use of AI and technology. Very good advancements, especially where animal welfare is concerned. It's really, really helping to monitor the health and welfare of animals if farmers can afford to install. However, from a Muslim perspective, where do we draw the line? Is it okay to keep packing animals so closely together and keeping them in these intensive systems just because a computer says the animal is okay? So we have to have a think about that from a religious and ethical perspective as well, about the ethical use of AI and technology. So if we have a look here about the industry at the moment, so we have halal feed stuff. So we have halal certification for animal feed, and then we have our certification from the slaughterhouse onwards to do with the processing and packaging. So the Tayyib comes into play with that cross-contamination. However, at the farm level, here our halal certifiers do not certify the farm directly. So we farm to the country's legislation where animal welfare is concerned and that production. Some farming practices may breach the sacred law. Okay, known low welfare and suffering is against Islam because we know it is occurring. We may be causing it. We need to start thinking about that boundary. And I feel the halal industry would benefit from their own animal rearing standards, even if it's a very small section. For the next generation of Muslims are becoming very aware of the issues with food security and animal welfare. And so they are looking for ethical labels. So if we can put the standards into place now, it will help with future generations. And why? Animal suffering, damage to human and environmental health with that antibiotic resistance, those zoonotic diseases, it's starting to go against those Islamic boundaries. So as a whole, we could create a united world a united world-class industry of high welfare of halal, if we address common ground issues within our countries, this could take place through research into areas of modern farming that are borderline with that sacred law, something that we could all address, align with UN goals and ethical livestock rearing. We could carry out project plans and cost-effect analysis because, of course, some nations are more developed than others. A phased approach through generations, maybe not now, but we are making the intention with Allah to improve this industry and the lives of animals and create that Tayyib product. Education and training, not just within ourselves, but the consumer as well, and expanding or developing that halal certification. So just a recap. So purchasing meat with a known cruelty along the supply chain starts to go against that sacred law. If you don't know, you cannot be, it's halal for you. If somebody's put the halal stamp, we trust our fellow Muslims. But if you know there is cruelty, purchasing from that particular place is starting to compromise your sacred law. It will be beneficial to have training and understanding of basics of animal behavior and welfare, specifically at the animal level, and expand that monitoring or change the standards where we can. The changes, as I mentioned at the beginning, they're not exclusive to farming, so we should consider the live animal transport that goes on, and also any testing in the cosmetic industry. And we should be aware that affordable, high welfare meat needs to be available to all demographics. All of us as Muslims are entitled to have a halal and Tayyib diet with high welfare. Just because somebody may be from a developing nation, it doesn't mean that we should start to compromise that sacred law because they need that nutritional value. We need to, try and work together, united as an industry together. And have that fair trade farming as well, looking after our farmers in the industry. Okay, so that's the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, my email address is there, and there's some QR codes there that feed to my website as well.
Thank you very much. Another insightful presentation, Sister Gemma. I'm glad today we started off with the basic foundation is required in the industry, which is amanah, and it's ended up with your presentation, Barakah. A very apt, and also I see that our next presenter, we started with the foundation of amanah from the HCB. And then we started from the source of the production, which is the animal. And now we are ending the presentation side with the packaging. So without much ado, I welcome Dr. Shayfira Huda from Universiti Teknologi Malaysia to make her presentation. Assalamualaikum. Welcome, Dr. Shayfira. Dr. Shayfira, you need to unmute, please.
Okay, sorry. Okay, Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. Salam Ramadan for those who are fasting. Thank you so much to the organizer and also to the speaker. This is actually my first time joining the Halal conference. So it's a new exposure for me to share to the audience about our technology that having the opportunity to be used in the halal food packaging. And once again, my name is Shayfira Huda binti Paiman. I was actually a chemist in 3 Summit PMF Sdn Bhd, located based in Johor, Malaysia. Okay, without any further ado, let's continue with the slide presentations. Okay. Before I go any deeper, I would love to recall back to myself, especially about the halal and Tayyiban concepts. Okay, when we go back to the halal words, it's actually originate from the Arabic word meaning allow and permissible by the Islamic law. And nowadays we know that the halal is no longer viewed as an obligation, a religious obligations or observance for the Muslim, but also has been considered as the standard of choice for Muslim and also non-Muslim consumers worldwide. And when we look back at the Quran, the words Thayyiban has been mentioned several times, particularly regarding on the selections of halal food. It always comes together, halal, Thayyiban. So the concept of halal, Thayyiban are the combinations of the element halal and Thayyiban, which is follow the Islamic lawful with the high quality product. And when we go to the food industry, halal and Thayyiban concept will identify the food itself as those which is the lawful and also high quality, means that the food has been processed, has been handled at the hygienic conditions, clean, no contamination, and safe to be used for the consumers. And then in order for the food industry to have the halal certifications, the inspections of the Halal and Thayyiban Code of Practice will cover overall food processing operations under the slogans from the farm to the forks. Means that I believe that all the experts know that the raw material selections will be checking from does the sauce is permissible or not. If we are using like maybe chicken or meat, does the chicken being slaughtered using the Islamic law or not? And then how does the processing of the food itself? Does it being prepared in the clean conditions? Does the equipment that we are using is clean, is hygiene enough to make sure that the food that we wanted to serve to the consumer is safe? Okay, because it goes back to the Thayyiban concept, which is safe, no harm to the consumers. And also, it comes after we have processed the food, it comes to the packaging, because it's easy for the food to be distributed to the consumers. And then we wanted also to enhance the food shelf life to make sure that there is no contaminations. The food at the end of the day can be safe to be consumed. The food that we eat doesn't cause to the foodborne illness, food poisoning. And also, this packaging is important for the food to be stored. So you can distribute the food down the line. After you prepare, you pack it, you store, and you can distribute to the customer. And then the storage of the food also must be inspected to avoid any conditions that may interrupt it, to the food quality. Because when we buying food from the store, we wanted to make sure that the food is still can be consumed and it doesn't cause any bad effect to the consumers. And here, the negligence of the Thayyiban concept in the food processing will cause the pathogenic microorganism effect on food. Means that if we are not taking care about our practices in handling the food in the right manner, cleanliness, hygiene, the food will be contaminated. And what happens when we consuming the contaminated food? We are exposed to the foodborne disease. Even the statistics are shown by the World Health and organizations, every year, 1 in 10 people will fall ill due to the foodborne disease. So means that this foodborne illness has become one of the major global public health concerns. And how it become a foodborne disease? Because the food has been infected by the bacteria, like viruses. Maybe some of the food doesn't being stored correctly, so that it produces toxin which is harmful to the bodies. So this is actually the things that we need to tackle from the packaging part. Okay, and also once the food has been contaminated, where it's actually end up? It was end up in the garbage because it's no longer can be consumed because it's already spoiled. When we throw the food into the garbage, it is actually contribute to the waste generations. We do need food every day, but little we know that 50% of the waste generation worldwide is coming from food. So we have to really taking care. We have to obey with the halal and Thayyiban concepts in a food and beverage processing industry, so that all those things, the global issue will not happen. We try to cater it in the phases. And also these food contaminations and food spoilage can happen at any stages, during the preparations, during the packaging, and even during the storage, and even during the distribution part. It can happen. Okay. And then, as I mentioned earlier, packaging is one of the important determinant in getting the halal compliance and certifications, because the food packaging is such a way to keep the quality of the food. Food packaging also will provide a barrier against microorganisms, including the bad, harmful pathogens, the spoiling agents that can contaminate the food, maybe the environment that's not suitable for the food, and also that could lead to the foodborne illness and against insects and animals. And at the end of the day, the goals, why we pack, why the packaging of the food is coming in, because we wanted to preserve the freshness, the nutrition, the quality of the food, because we wanted to follow the code of practice of the Toyiban, give the consumers a good things, the high quality. And indeed, when we having a proper food packaging, it also can contribute in minimizing the food waste, and also can reduce the preservative that being used during the food processing. So I think it's kind of like a very good, maybe a good step for us to keep on looking on how the halal food packaging can follow the Toyiban's concept, so that the food itself is being complied with the concept. And now, when we look at the markets, when we look at the food industry trends, right, there's so many kinds of foods it's coming in, and that food packaging technology is become more relevant in response to dynamic shift in global consumer demands and food industry. And normally in the packaging technology developments, manufacturer is adding like active materials or additives inside the food packaging, with the aim as a play role in controlling the environment of the packaging to increase the shelf life of the food. We wanted to preserve the quality, the crispiness, maybe the visual and the taste of the packed food. But now, halal consumer, not just for halal consumer, but all the consumers worldwide are not expecting halal food packaging, but also a packaging that are more environmentally friendly and sustainable packaging. Because at the end of the day, we wanted to cater the issues of the food waste, the issues of the waste generations. We doesn't want to bring harms not just to the consumers, but also to the environment. So here there is a challenge actually to fulfill the development of food packaging in accordance with the halal Toyiban concept, and also having the sustainable element at the same time. Here comes, I would like to introduce to the audience about our Hyperion technology, which is antimicrobial additive that having the opportunity to be applied in the food processing and handling, including the food packaging. It can reduce the bacterial contaminations in the food processing and make the food even more safer, and the product itself, the packaging itself can be more sustainable. It can be repurposed. So a brief introductions about the Hyperion. Hyperion is actually a high potency zinc-based antimicrobial additive. It is the raw materials of making the Hyperion is not related to it's a non-animal based material. So there is no issues about the genetics, about the slaughters of the animals, because it's based of the zinc, which is a metal, okay, metal based additive. And it has a core shells like a durian. If you guys know the durian, the king of fruits of Malaysia in Asia, the king, right? It has like a sharp thorns, you know. So if there is a bacteria that can contact on the surface of the Hyperion, it can kill and reduce and also to prevent the growth of harmful microorganisms such as the bacteria, viruses, fungi, and also algae. And we have tested that our Hyperion antimicrobial additive having antimicrobial activity up to 99.9% of killing the bacteria. And since it was exists in a powder form, it can be seamlessly incorporated in wide range of end-use product during the manufacturing process without interfering the actual manufacturing setup, which is, I think, it's a good and a benefit one, because sometimes when people wanted to implementing something, a Toyiban code of practice inside their manufacturing line, they come across the issues of the cost. right? But when this one having in a powder form, you just no need. The manufacturers of the end user product doesn't have to change their manufacturing setup. You just have to change in terms of their formulations also to make sure that your product after that having the antimicrobial properties, which promotes the cleanliness, which promotes the less use of a raw resources like water for cleaning or detergent. You have saved in terms of that. And then we also hear also how Hyperion can kill instead of their sharp nano pillar. Hyperion, during the process, Hyperion can produce reactive oxygen species. Okay, these reactive oxygen species exhibit a strong oxidative potential to attack the microbial cells component and cause the oxidative stress. Like if we are getting stressed days by day, sometimes it will kill us slowly. Same goes to the bacteria. When the ROS have attacked their structure, slowly integrated into their bodies, it can disrupting the integrity of the microbial structure and leading to the cell leakage and eventually cell death. But what's the unique mechanism in Hyperion itself is, in normal metal antimicrobial agent, it requires light to produce the reactive oxygen species. But for Hyperion, light is not needed. It means that when you embedded the Hyperion into the food packaging, but not just food packaging, any other kinds of materials, like for example, maybe your water pipes in the kitchens of the restaurants, right? The conditions doesn't have light, but still this Hyperion can produce ROS to kill the bacteria. So it reduces the infections of the bacteria, maybe the cross-contaminations. So it promotes against the cleanliness. So you can reduce the amount of your detergent used to clean your, maybe your kitchenware utensils. And same goes as the food packaging. Because when we pack the food is going from one places to one places. So there might be like a contaminations of the bacteria here and there. So here how the Hyperion can help in bringing the cleanliness, the food safety to the things and to the foods that we wanted to provide to the consumers. And also highlighting a bit about the key features of the Hyperion. We have tested it under US FDA and EU regulations that these additives are safe to be used as an additive in a food packaging. Also, these processes of making the Hyperion has been certified green manufacturing process under GPM Global USA. And again, as I mentioned just now, it is a non-animal based raw materials. So the numbers of resources that we use to make Hyperion is less. We conserve the use of the raw materials, and then the benefit of sustainability that we can get from the Hyperion also contribute to the sustainability element. And then comes to the area of applications. Okay, come back to my topic today about the Hyperion, the opportunity in the food packaging. Hyperion can be seamlessly incorporated in numbers of polymer materials or plastics. And now we know that the plastic is one of the most widely used food packaging or food processing equipment materials because of its versatility and affordability. The price is low. So it means that when we are embedded this Hyperion into a food packaging, it will put another one good properties of the food packaging, which is antimicrobial food packaging. It will not just keep the freshness of the food, but also give another properties to ensure that the whole packaging itself is clean and hygiene. And I would love to giving some like an overview. Where's the opportunity of Hyperion as an antimicrobial additive in food packaging to promote the Tayyib code of practice? In the current packaging, making a food packaging, there is numbers of a technology and a development. But I'd like to show one of it only. Here is that the current packaging, normally the manufacturer are used two or more materials they are layering. Maybe one is a PET type polymer, and then they have like aluminum foil, and then they are layering again with the polyethylene polymer. And producing these kinds of multi-materials makes the current packaging is not suitable, and I must say that it's quite hard. It's not possible to be recycled. So it gives pressure for us to reduce the plastic waste and also the plastic pollutions. But and new packaging technology right now, what we are developing into is we are using the same type of the material, which is for example like polyethylene with the polyethylene, maybe polypropylene with the polypropylene. We layer it with another oxygen barrier that can preserve or we can say that prevent the diffusions of the oxygen inside the food pack. And when we incorporate the Hyperion inside the PE film, it will give the antimicrobial properties to the packaging. Means that it can reduce the bacterial contaminations that cause the food contaminations, food spoilage, and will cause to the foodborne and also the food waste. And again, it made the food more safer, made the product packaging more sustainable because it can promote plastic recycling, and consumer also can repurpose the packaging for another food storage. And this is actually one of our example trial product. We are trying embedded Hyperion into antimicrobial egg container. By using 0.1% of the Hyperion itself, it can kill the bacteria up to 99.9%. And again, we have tested it, their food safety under the US FDA and EU regulations. And now what we are monitoring in our laboratory is how long this antimicrobial egg container can hold the crispiness or the freshness of the eggs in the room conditions. So at the end of the day, when we try to incorporate the antimicrobial properties or antimicrobial material, for example, like ours, Hyperion, into the food packaging, it will prevent the growth of the bacteria and fungi on the surface of the packaging. It also can reduce the bacteria infections surrounding area and prolong the food shelf or the fresh of the processed, prolong the food shelf life of the fresh or processed food, and prevent the foodborne illness and promotes the product reusability and recyclability. And this antimicrobial properties is actually having a synergistic impact towards Halal and Thayyiban concept, because Halal and Thayyiban concept always wanted to prevent contaminations on the foods, promotes hygiene, cleanliness, the food safety, and then we wanted to provide the consumer with the safe food, prevent haram, prevent harms to the consumers. And at the end of the day, we wanted to reduce the waste generations. And when there's a lot of waste generations, of course, the carbon emission also will increase. So we can see that with the little tiny particles in the food packaging, it gives the opportunity to comply with the code of practice in Thayyiban to make sure the food safety. And lastly, as the conclusion, Halal Thayyiban concept ensuring food is produced according to the lawful with the high quality. And Hyperion can be applied as one of the additives in the food packaging to promote the antimicrobial properties towards hygiene, cleanliness, practice, product safety, and extending the product shelf life. Also, there is a synergy between antimicrobial technology with the Halal Thayyiban concept and sustainability, because sustainability encourages consumers to make choices that minimize the harms to the planet, opting for eco-friendly products and supporting companies that prioritize responsible productions and sourcing. And then lastly, by embracing the halal and sustainable principles, individuals and consumers can make more ethical choices in their daily life to reduce the impact not only to the society, but also to the environment overall. That's all my sharing today. Thank you for your time. And if there's anything I was here, you can log on to our website to know more about this technology and where more this Hyperion can be embedded to, not just for the food packaging, but maybe for the painting, for the food and beverage premises or hospitality also. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shafikah. Alhamdulillah, we have come to the end of the presentation session and going forward to the panel discussion being moderated by Dr. Ali. I hand over this session to Dr. Ali. Assalamu
Thank you,
alaikum.
Sister Rosie. Thank you so much for your moderating. Welcome all to this panel discussion. We will go, inshallah, to have discussion about the 3 topics we discuss in this session, one by one, starting from the topic of Dr. Damir, then Sister Gemma, and later Dr. Shafikah, inshallah. So we will go topic one topic, and if there is any question, we will answer. And also, I'll ask a few questions to the presenter for each one, inshallah. First of all, for the topic of Dr. Damir, I think there is a request to speak from Dato Doraisamy about the topic of the importance of the halal standard in ethical issues. Dato, are you with us now? Dato Doraisamy? Tamam, we'll come later to him, inshallah. So, Dr. Damir, speak about the standard of ethics in halal certification bodies and the importance of the ethics standards. And as you know, that there is current project in CIMIC Technical Committee number 11 about this one. It will be, inshallah, standard number 62. And it's not only same like ISO anti-bribery standard, it's also contain more information about the ethics in halal issues. So can I ask you, Doctor, you are in the committee for this one, for this new standard. So what other than anti-bribery issues we will have in this standard, inshallah?
So I was few times I'm being in how can I say, in working groups during the work on this standard and on this text. So and few times I've been in only been in meetings for during the committee. So not so included in this because I'm food technology and I avoid sometimes I'm avoiding the how can I say, avoiding the things that I'm not not in that field. And but I'm interested for this standard because of my certification bodies, because I'm in certification bodies and I know that there is a lot of problems because of briberies and anti-bribery, and not just because of that problem, because of a lot of certification bodies, they present themselves that they are not. For example, very often they are, how can I say, they present that they are huge certification body, accredited by this one, accredited by that one, recognized by that one, etc. For example, very often you will find that certification bodies, they said they are accredited by CIMIC. We know that CIMIC is not accreditation body. We know that CIMIC is standardization body. They develop standard, but it is not honest. It is not, how can I say, that certification, but it is not, that's the important, because when we talk about ethical, and we talk about ethics standard, we talk about from all perspective. We know that our source Quran and Hadith that they said that we have to be honest, we have to be transparent, we have to be just speak honestly, to be justice, to be everything, you know. Everything we have in our religion, everything we have in our source of Islam, and we just need to follow. We don't. If we follow the rules, we don't need standards. We don't need guidelines. We have already have the rules, but unfortunately, sometimes we have to develop even standards, guidelines, and talk about this.
Yes, thank you, Doctor. Actually, يعني, the soul of this ethics is in our religion, but we need to put rules and make it as a document so we can control it. Honesty is general. All religion accept this one, and any human being, he will be like you to be honest with him. But how we can make it as practical practice in our standardization body, in our halal certification bodies. For example, this anti-bribery system, that I cannot go and make quotation, I cannot go and make payment because of interfere of some interest. Okay, this is how we can control it. We know that it's ethics issue, but we need to control it on the management level. And I think there is, يعني being Muslim, sometimes we do sins, we do mistakes, and when it's business, they hope to have more money, to get more money from the certification. So this is how the shaitan come. It's come. We are doing halal business, but the shaitan come from the money, from making more profit, from making these things. This is why we need to make some rules, inshallah. And I hope that we can do good work in this standard and implement this standard in the future, inshallah. يعني let's see.
I'm just yeah, considering yes, no problem, we can implement standard. And I will say, for example, I will implement this standard in my organization, in my certification body, and I said I will implement. I implemented this standard, and I am ethical, etc. But who will confirm that? We have to care about confirming that we are implementing these ethical standards, implementing the rule, not rules, implementing the requirements of these standards. So we have to care in next period. We have to work on that. Yes.
Inshallah. Maybe there's the coming what call it halal accreditation form. If Hub will have some role in this one,
Yes.
inshallah, in the near future, when we have this kind of multilateral agreement and mutual recognition, this one, inshallah, we will be implemented much better, inshallah. Let's ask Dato again. Dato Doraisamy, are you with us now? Because he requests to speak a little bit about this topic, but I don't know if he is with us now or not. Tamam, no problem. Let's come back to him, inshallah. Let's move to the second topic. If there is any question about the first one, the first topic of Dr. Damir, if anyone have question from the attendants or from the people who is watching us online. Okay, good. Thank you so much, Dr. Damir. Now let's speak with Sister Gemma Ali. She speak about animal welfare in Islam and about animal welfare in general. Sister Gemma is doing PhD now about this topic, and she is very active in this issue. And animal welfare is mentioned in our standard. We hope that, inshallah, we can reach higher level of animal welfare, but also there is every time you need to do something which is applicable in the most of the Islamic countries. And I think animal welfare is big topic. It's also mentioned in our religion, but how we can implement it and make it in the standard. So, Sister Gemma, I have a question for you about this topic. We have some critical, factory practices, which is all around the world because of the to reduce the cost, like killing the chicks, the male chicks, for farms, and how to say it, killing also the male, sometimes يعني affecting the male of some animals. So how we can solve this one from the point of view of Islamic issues, even that all countries do these things until now?
With regards to the male chicks, there is some technology that's been put in place where they actually do the embryo testing to see if the egg is male or not before the chick is hatched and becomes that live being, which is more of an ethical practice in the sense that you're not hatching a live being that will then potentially go through some form of pain or maybe an emotional or mental state that's poor for them. However, I'm yet to explore from maybe like a scholarly level about the embryo testing, because when it comes to humans, we can't have that choice. If we are the doctor says to us, oh, you're having a daughter, we don't have that right to then say, oh, I don't want that baby anymore, because it's a last choice. How that egg, or how, whether it's an animal or human, it's a last choice whether it's male or female. So do we have that right as a Muslim to then test that embryo and say, okay, we can use that egg for something else? Is that our right? Where is the Islamic boundary there? But the technology is there, it is in the place. Whether everybody around the world can afford to put that kind of technology into place and have that around the world is another matter to be questioned. But it is there. It is there, definitely. And it is being promoted as being more ethical to actually test at the egg level for that male and female difference rather than the live being.
This is good news that there is this technology. Hopefully, I think it will save a lot of unnecessary death of this chicks. And maybe we can discuss this issue in the Fiqh Academy, Islamic Fiqh Academy. Every time CIMIC, when they have some things related to the new fatwa, new fiqh issues, we send it to the Fiqh Academy and they answer about this one. Because the Fiqh Academy, 100%, they don't accept that killing chicks just because they are male and making them as powder and for feed. But maybe this one will save something. And especially in the fiqh, that there is difference between human being and the animal. The Islam give respect to the animal, but also at the same time, it's not a deal like the human being in the fiqh issues. Thank you, sister. A little bit, we will go to Dato Doraisamy to speak about him. Then we come back again to your topic. So, Dato, are you with us now?
Yes. I'm in the link now.
Yes. So I think you have comment about the first topic about the ethical standard in halal certification bodies.
Yes, some knowledge of the ethical standards and the strict compliance in Sharia compliance in regards to the halal Tayyib, practices. And here I would like to share the challenges that we here in Malaysia that we have been going, because Malaysia being a multiracial country, we have Muslims, non-Muslims, and the question of Sharia compliance in regards to halal Tayyiban is still in the infant stage. A lot of things, a lot of knowledge is needed to be infused to the to the non-Muslims, because the non-Muslims, as far as non-Muslims are concerned, you tell they are very familiar with vegetarian food and non-vegetarian food. But coming to halal and halal standards is a different, entirely a very different, a very new topic to non-Muslims. So in that aspect, I would say that the introduction and the practices that ought to be introduced to the non-Muslims in the strict form that what is halal is about, and you're talking about standards, and of course when you talk about halal standards, it varies from country to country, and of course it sounds, for the non-Muslims, it sounds very religious, it sounds very Islamic. This concept is very much ingrained in the non-Muslims. So what we have to do is that halal is meant for everyone. It's meant for Muslims and non-Muslims, and the food. What we are talking is the food, the clean food, food that is consumable to every human being in the world, and that's what we are telling. And of course, when you talk about in the West, they talk more on kosher food, kosher, which is equivalent to the halal standards, the halal ethical standards. So these are things that a little bit of confusion. I would say the challenges with the non-Muslims, particularly in Malaysia. So, but I would say, having read about Islamic law, Sharia law, about going through on halal tahiban, I would say that the concept of halal food preparation is a good move, it's a good subject, and this has to be communicated. This has to be taught to the non-Muslims in stages, so that the acceptance of the halal food will take place. So it's a matter of time, I would say. But and I would fully support that halal food is good for everyone, irrespective of what religion you belong to, whether you're a Muslim or non-Muslim. But halal food is good for every citizen in this world. Thank you.
Thank you, Dato. Thank you so much
for
your comment. And of course, we need to increase the awareness about halal among Muslim and non-Muslim people who is living with us, because the majority of the people don't know a lot about other cultures. We need to read about each other and communicate with each other to have more communication, inshallah. Thank you, Dato, for your comments and your free. Thank you.
Dr. Ali, can I quickly say something there?
Yes.
So here in the UK, under the government guidance, kosher and halal meat, it says has to be intended for Muslim or Jewish people. However, we do have imports from different countries which are actually halal slaughtered, but are not on the labeling and packaging. So non-halal consumers are actually eating this as well. So a lot of these issues as well, the standard, of course, and promoting that the clean and pure standard, but also the labeling. I don't know about anybody else, but in the UK, we have a lot of halal labeling issues, where we have a pushback from non-Muslims saying, oh, I don't want to eat halal, it's barbaric because of that lack of education. We have some non-Muslims that want to eat halal and kosher because they believe it's cleaner. And then we also have Muslims who, we have a lot of halal frauds where you can just put halal sign in the front of your shop. It's not a legal requirement. It's, there's guidance in the regulation. But again, if meat's being imported and you don't really know where it's come from, but it's been halal slaughtered, how would you know? It gets mixed in the communities as well. So I don't know if that's also a problem in Malaysia as well.
Actually, there is kind of Islamophobia in some countries, and there is some anti-halal movement in some countries. Not majority, but there is minority people who is have this mentality. There is some action in Australia, some action in some other countries against the halal issue. So sometimes some companies are afraid to put halal logo, even the food is halal, to not lose these people. I think the best solution will be just to promote the right thing. This how to say, racist people will be everywhere, and these people who is hating the other religions are everywhere. So we need just to continue asking our right to have the halal food, because it's human right to have the food which is suitable to your religion requirement, and this is
Yeah, of
very
course. And
important.
also it's the right of those who don't want to have halal and kosher. It's their right as well to have that label of where their food has come
Yes,
from.
yes. So if you
They
put the halal logo, so they can know. Anyone who want to avoid, also he can avoid. The Muslim population is around 2 billion around the world. I think if some company want this big market, they have to aware about the halal. If you want to lose all of this 2 billion because of 1 million people, this is another issue. Like some countries, what is doing now, they prefer Israel above this 2 billion people. They take all of these benefit from this people and do the opposite thing. Anyway, inshallah, if we keep asking for our rights and doing the right things, awareness, I think we will win at the end, inshallah. Dr. Alina, is there any question from your side about this topic? Dr. Alina? You raise your hand, Dr. Alina. Okay. There's enough time, Alina. You short you. I cannot unmute. How to unmute Dr. Alina? I'm not the moderator.
Yeah, Brother Noor, could you please unmute Dr. Alina?
If you try again, Dr. Alina. Okay, we'll come back to you after a few minutes when Brother Noor help you, inshallah. Thank you, Sister Gemma, for your topic. And inshallah, CIMIC standard number 1 will go under review, inshallah, starting from next year. So maybe more details about animal welfare will be in the standard, inshallah. Now we have a lot of animal welfare clauses in the standard, but inshallah more details will be, inshallah, in the standard. Now we come to the last topic about Dr. Shafikah. She speak about halal packaging and speak about their technology, Hyperion technology, if I'm not mistaken how to pronounce. Also, CIMIC now is preparing a new standard about halal packaging. So inshallah, we'll ask her about their company technology, inshallah. But before I ask you about this technology again, we have problem in this new standard about the recycling issue. Because when we do recycling, sometimes we don't know the source of the packaging. Is it halal or not? So what's your opinion about recycling issues in the halal packaging? Yes, Dr. Shafiq.
Okay, my comments about the halal, I think people also have been giving some sort of like a questions about the recycling the plastics. Sometimes because they don't know where to recycle, and they also don't know what kind of materials that being put to make the packaging itself. Because as I mentioned earlier, if we are making a food packaging with the different materials, like layering with different materials, it's quite hard to delaminate the layer and then to recycle. So you have to find another solution on how you would recycle. But when we wanted to make a recycle technology for the plastics, it will cost a lot of money. So what we try to do is actually try to make the food packaging using a single material. So when you wanted to recycle, you can just recycling it. And then people also doesn't know whether this thing should be recycled or not. Does this is a halal food packaging or not? So what my concern is, maybe we can come with the QR code so people can scan the code. And then inside the code, they will mention more about like whether this food packaging is making from what kind of materials, what's the regulations, what's maybe the standards on how the consumers can recycle that things. Maybe we can put some info where the recycling center that should be put, because sometimes people are not really aware. They thought when we talk about the plastic, anything can recycle. You can just dump, even have 1,000 plastic, you can dump it in a single bin for you to recycle. But it's quite harder actually for you to recycle. So my comments, and even I have also saying this idea, maybe we should come up with the label, same goes like a halal label. Maybe this time around, maybe we can put another one label special for the packaging, so people know how you wanted to do with the packaging. If the packaging itself can be reused, the people can scan the QR code. So the information is there. We can create the awareness. We can keep educating the people, because nowadays we know that everyone have those smartphones. They can scan everywhere. The AI technology has been broadened, right? So I think it's not like it's doable. It's doable to educate and give awareness to the consumers like this. Because sometimes when we are using this packaging, maybe it was manufactured in Malaysia, but after we packet the food, maybe I distributed in Turkey, right? So people in Turkey also know how to do with that. And I think also the standard bodies also need to know, need to set up another regulation, that especially in terms of the plastics, the materials used for the packaging itself. So it not just need a single body of the manufacturer or the consumer itself, but the someone who holds the power, the bodies, I mean like the standard. So everyone can follow worldwide, not just only in Malaysia regulations. Yeah.
Thank you, sister. This is a nice idea.
Yeah, I have a
And-
question. Can I ask a question?
Yes, sister.
Yeah. My question is on Hyperion just now. Now, with the fact that we're all going into green practices, and we want halal to be a leader for the community to lead, well, other technologies have superseded in terms of, the technology itself. Now with this Hyperion, I just want a question. I want to ask this question. Can Hyperion lead the halal industry with the fact that it's not about just the halal process, but it's the toiban, the activity on the half of the product itself. So Hyperion can help develop that value chain on saving food, saving the cost of maintenance, saving the cost of all other things, which probably, as you said, this will help enhance the quality of health. That's my question that I want to ask.
I think yes, the opportunity is greatly there, because Hyperion itself, when we talk about the functions of the Hyperion, we wanted to kill the bacteria, like not just for the food packaging, any kinds of the materials, especially for the equipments or maybe the cutting, chopping board that you use in the kitchen, in your kitchens, during the preparations of the food itself, instead of halal concept, I think Hyperion is more fit into toiban, because we wanted to promote the cleanliness. When we use a product that built in with the antimicrobial technology, okay, we built in with that, you can save a lot of the resources like water to clean that things. Okay, like for example, in a chopping board, they have a study stating that the biofilms layer of the pathogen can grow within 3 days. So means that you have to keep rewashing it. Even when you disinfectant using a sanitizer, sometimes it's not that all clean. So you need something that can give a satisfaction or confidence to the consumers and also to the manufacturer, to the F&B industry, to make sure that what they are doing in their kitchens, what they are doing in their industry, is actually following the Tayyiban concept. And so I think the opportunity is there. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Shafikah, for your answer. Inshallah, we'll have more technologies like this one, which will improve the packaging and also compatible with the halal issues, inshallah. And hopefully, inshallah, we can get benefit from your experience in new CIMIC standard, inshallah. By the way, Dr. Alina, write in the chat box about the experience in Malaysia about halal awareness and the different programs in the college and school about informing people about halal. So, I think Malaysia, one of the best or the best country among halal awareness in the OIC countries, Muslim countries, and a lot of even non-Muslim people understand a little bit about halal and know that halal is related sometime to halal and tayyib and not only for Muslim people. Thank you, Dr. Alina, for your comment, and hopefully, inshallah, we can have more halal awareness program among all Muslim countries. By this way, I think we come back to, we reach our finish of this panel and discussion. Thank you so much for your time, for your comment. And inshallah, every time we will keep in touch and learn from you and from your experience. Thank you so much. And I think we will end this session now, or I don't know about Dr. Brother Noor. He will have any comment about this one.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ali, for moderating this panel session. Very good insights from all the panelists. Thank you also to Dr. Doraisamy, Professor Dr. Doraisamy, for his insights from the non-Muslim perspective. Yes, the buy-in from the non-Muslims are also needed, especially when they are coming from the producer side. And we need to extend and explore the whole ecosystem within the halal industry to reach out to everyone, Muslim and non-Muslim alike, and also at every value chain. And let's hope that this International Halal Conference, iHalal Conference, will become one of the platforms that reaches out to everyone around the world to better understand halal and Tayyiban, that we can uphold the foundation of amanah as Muslims to then give barakah to all the ummah. So with that, I thank you everyone, the panelists, the presenters, Dr. Damir, Sister Gemma, Dr. Shafikah, the moderator, Dr. Ali, and also the additional panelists, Dr. Doraisamy. Thank you very much for your all wonderful insights today, for sharing all your lifelong experience, and also to Dr. Alina for sharing her thoughts, and Dr. Noor also for giving her questions here. And with that, we end up this session. And thank you, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. See you soon, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
See you soon.
Alaikum assalam. Salam.
Salam.
Yeah.